ever had that feeling where your own mind just seems to be working against you, like a thought just dissolves the second you try to grab onto it? Well, you're not imagining things, and we're going to get into it because we are living through a full-blown attention crisis. In fact, there's a term for this now. You've probably seen it floating around online. It's that feeling of just mental fog and exhaustion you get after falling down some digital rabbit hole. They're calling it brain rot.
And look, this is not just some internet meme. This is now officially Oxford's word of the year for 2024. And it perfectly captures that feeling of being drained after scrolling through endless streams of super high stimulation, but really low substance content.
So just how deep does this rabbit hole go? Well, take a look at this number, 47 seconds. That, right there, is the average amount of time a person now focuses on a single task on a screen before their attention gets yanked somewhere else. Now, let's put that in perspective. Back in 2004, that same average was 2.5 minutes. So in less than 20 years, our ability to just stay focused has completely cratered. The big question is, how on earth did we get here? Let's investigate. So first, we've got to understand the scene of the crime. And the crime scene? It's our own consciousness. We're living in what some are calling the vanishing present. And this just nails the feeling, doesn't it? It's as if our minds have become these leaky sieves. A great idea, a complex feeling, even a simple plan for the day, it just slips right through, pushed out by the next buzz, the next ping, the next uncontrollable urge to just check the phone. To really get what we've lost, we need a point of comparison. We need to look back at the world we came from, a world you could call a world of slow time. Seriously, before every single empty moment could be stuffed with a screen, time just felt different. It was thicker. Boredom wasn't some problem you had to solve with an app. It was just a state you were in. And it was in those empty spaces, waiting in line, staring out a window, that our minds were actually forced to do some of their best work, to wander, to process, to create. What we're really looking at here is a war between two different ways of thinking. On one side, you've got deep attention. This was trained by things like books, linear media, which built up our mental muscles for critical thinking and empathy. On the other side, hyperattention. This is what's trained by screens. It makes us great at skimming and jumping between tasks, but it's all surface level. So what was the mechanism? What actually broke our deep attention? Well, a huge piece of the puzzle was the deliberate removal of something called stopping cues. Think about it. The end of a chapter in a book or the end of a TV show. That's a natural place to pause, to think, to put it down. But features like infinite scroll and autoplay were specifically engineered to destroy those pauses, making it way easier to keep going than to stop. And that brings us to the culprits, because this wasn't an accident. This was a heist, a full-on heist of our attention. The main weapon in this heist is actually inside our own heads. It's a neurological loop that works just like a slot machine. Every time you swipe on your feed, you're pulling the lever. You have no idea if the next video will be great or just meh. And that unpredictability floods your brain with dopamine. But here's the key. It's the dopamine of anticipation, not pleasure. It makes you crave the next potential reward, locking you in the loop. And let's be absolutely clear about this. If you feel trapped in this loop, it is not a personal failure. It's not a weakness of your willpower. It's a staggering success of intentional design. It comes from a whole field of study called captology, or persuasive technology, which is literally about designing computers to change how humans think and act. So why? Why build these addictive systems? Simple. In the attention economy, our focus is the product they sell. Every second you stay on a platform is money in their pocket. Just look at the metrics they use. Dwell time, that's just how long they can keep you there, and it's tied directly to ad revenue. Engagement rate, your likes, your comments, that's how they measure how addictive a feature is. And the bounce rate is the ultimate enemy. So they engineer things like infinite scroll to make sure you never ever leave. So what's the fallout from this heist on a bigger scale? Well, we are actively raising a generation that is neurologically fragmented. I mean, just look at this data. Back in the 1970s, 60% of high school seniors read a book or a magazine pretty much every day just for fun. By 2016, that number had plummeted to 16%. And this isn't just about a change in hobbies. This represents a fundamental change in how we train our brains. And this rewiring follows us right into our careers. The workplace culture of constant pings, emails, and notifications forces us into a state of what's called shallow work.
basically doing stuff while you're distracted. And this makes it nearly impossible to get into that state of deep focus, that flow state that we absolutely need to solve hard problems and create anything of real value.
And the price tag for this is just astronomical. It's estimated that in 2024 alone, the lost productivity from employee disengagement, which is a direct result of all this fragmented attention, is going to cost the global economy $438 billion. Okay, so that's the problem. It's huge, it's systemic, and it's frankly a little scary. But it is not hopeless. We can fight back. This next part is all about reclaiming your mind. So what can you do right now? First, get outside. Seriously, attention restoration theory shows that spending time in nature rests the exact part of our brain that screens exhaust. Second, you have to actively cultivate flow states by scheduling blocks of deep work. No phones, no email. And third, you can engineer friction back into your devices. Turn off autoplay, switch your screen to grayscale, create little speed bumps for your mind to break that hypnotic spell. But look, personal tweaks are not going to solve this alone. We also need big systemic changes. We need things like right-to-disconnect laws that protect our time away from work. We need to start treating deliberately addictive algorithms as a public health issue. And we need a revolution in our schools that starts teaching attention itself as a fundamental survival skill for the 21st century. Because that's really what this all boils down to. This is the choice we have. One road leads to a future of fragmentation, where we're all just really efficient but hollow nodes in a giant digital machine. The other road leads to flow, where we protect our ability to think deeply, connect for real, and stay in charge of our own minds. And that choice, it isn't just made in government buildings or in corporate boardrooms. It's made by you every single day, in that tiny little space between a notification and your response. So the next time your phone buzzes, what are you going to choose to protect?